The early morning traffic in Lagos was already building when Tracy stepped out of the taxi in front of St. Catherine's Hospital. The large glass building stood proudly against the bright sky, buzzing with patients, nurses, doctors, and anxious relatives moving in different directions. Tracy adjusted the sleeve of her neatly ironed white coat and walked inside confidently. "Good morning, Pharmacist Tracy," one of the nurses greeted warmly. "Good morning, Nurse Ada." Another patient smiled at her immediately. "Ah, my beautiful pharmacist is here." Tracy laughed softly. "Mama, have you taken your drugs correctly this morning?" The old woman grinned mischievously. "If I say no, will you shout at me?" Very well. Everyone loved Tracy. At 36, she carried herself with grace and elegance that naturally attracted attention. Her skin glowed beautifully, her smile was gentle, and her calm voice could soothe even the most difficult patient. But behind that composed appearance was a woman carrying silent disappointment. As she arranged medication behind the counter, two young nurses nearby whispered excitedly, "Did you see Dr. Emeka proposing to his fiancée yesterday?" "Yes, their wedding is next month, and Auntie Tracy is still single. Life is somehow." The second nurse lowered her voice. "She's too beautiful yet not married. Maybe she's too selective." Tracy heard every word. She acted like she didn't. That was the problem with being unmarried at her age. People spoke about you like you were a mystery that needed solving. During lunch break, Tracy sat quietly in her office, scrolling through pictures on her phone. Her younger sister Nkiru had sent more wedding preparation photos. The decoration looked beautiful. The bridal gowns was elegant. Everyone seemed happy. Tracy smiled faintly before the smile slowly disappeared. Nkiru was the last sister. Kelechi got married at 26, Chizoba at 28. Even Nkiru, the baby of the family, was now getting married at 24. And Tracy? Nothing. No serious relationship, no explanation. Growing up, everyone believed she would marry before 24. Men admired her everywhere she went. During university, she had countless admirers. Even after becoming a pharmacist, many men approached her, but somehow every relationship mysteriously collapsed. One man disappeared after introducing her to his family, and another suddenly stopped answering calls. One even fixed an introduction date before ending things without explanation. At first, Tracy cried. Later, she prayed. Eventually, she stopped expecting anything. Her phone suddenly rang. "Mama," she smiled immediately and answered. "My daughter." Mother's cheerful voice instantly softened her mood. "How are preparations?" "We thank God oh. This wedding stress want to finish me." Tracy laughed. "Mama, what should I bring for you?" "Ha, Tracy, you and gifts." "I'm serious." "Well, one good wrapper will be enough." "One?" "Yes, and maybe one handbag and a shoe." "You have started. Is it my fault that my daughter likes spoiling me?" Tracy shook her head affectionately. Every month, without fail, she sent money home. She paid hospital bills. When her mother was sick, she bought wrappers, bags, shoes, foodstuffs, and even paid part of the rent despite her sisters being married. Her mother always said Tracy had the softest heart among all her children, and honestly, Tracy didn't mind. Taking care of her mother gave her purpose. Still, one thing troubled her deeply about the upcoming wedding: relatives, especially the aunties. Those women had a way of smiling while stabbing your heart. "Don't worry, you are next. Your own husband is coming. It's because you are too choosy." Men feared successful women. At this point, Tracy was tired. That evening after work, she stopped at a boutique to shop for her mother. 3 wrappers, 2 handbags, 3 pairs of shoes, jewelries, perfumes. The sales girl smiled brightly. Your mother will be very happy. Tracy nodded softly. She deserves it. As she paid, another customer nearby suddenly asked, Are you married? Tracy froze immediately. No. The woman looked shocked. But you're so beautiful. There it was again. That same sentence. Tracy forced a smile and left quickly before the woman could continue. That night in her apartment, she stood in front of the mirror, removing her makeup slowly. Beautiful, successful, kind, and responsible. So what exactly was wrong with her? For the first time in weeks, tears filled her eyes again, but she wiped them immediately. She was tired of crying. She needed to be strong. 4 days later, Tracy boarded a bus heading to Delta State for the wedding. She looked out the window quietly as Lagos disappeared behind her. She prayed silently, God, let this trip pass peacefully. The compound was already noisy when Tracy arrived in the village. Music blasted loudly. Children ran around carelessly. Women cooked in giant pots outside. Tracy is here, one woman shouted. My fine pharmacist, see beauty now. Almost immediately, her mother rushed out excitedly. Tracy smiled warmly and hugged her tightly. Her mother held her face proudly. You have lost weight, oh. Mama, is that the first thing you notice? Of course. Then her mother's eyes quickly moved to the bag. What did you bring for me? Tracy burst into laughter. You are impossible, Mama. Within minutes, wrappers and shoes like a child receiving Christmas gifts. This one is fine, oh. Ah, my daughter knows quality. Watching her excited made Tracy very happy. The next day, wedding activities intensified. Traditional dancers arrived, canopies were arranged, cooks shouted instructions everywhere. Tracy threw herself into helping. She coordinated food sharing, arranged drinks, helped dress the bride, and handled guests. Everybody depended on her, even strangers noticed her. At the traditional wedding, men kept stealing glances at her. She's so beautiful. While others danced carelessly, she remained busy helping women gather sprayed money from the dance floor. Sweat covered her face, but she still looked stunning. One elderly woman pulled her aside later. Tracy, don't worry. Your husband is near. Tracy forced a smile. Thank you, auntie. Another joined immediately. At your age, just pray harder, she said. By evening, Tracy escaped briefly behind the house to breathe. She was exhausted emotionally. Why couldn't people simply let her exist peacefully? Why did marriage determine a woman's worth? That night, after the wedding ended successfully, everybody celebrated happily except Tracy. Not because she wasn't happy for her sister, but because she felt she deserved to be loved. The following morning, the house was almost empty. Since her bus back to Lagos was the next day, Tracy decided to help her mother clean the house thoroughly. You don't need to stress yourself, her mother said. It's fine, Mama. Tracy swept quietly while her mother arranged clothes nearby. Then it happened. As Tracy bent to sweep beneath the old wooden bed, her broom touched something unusual. Frowning slightly, she knelt down. There was a dirty cloth bundle hidden beneath the bed. What is this? She dragged it out slowly. Tracy carefully untied the cloth. Then her heart nearly stopped. Inside were strange items wrapped together tightly. Red thread, dry objects, and her photograph. Tracy's breathing became uneven. Mama, what is this? Immediately, her mother screamed loud. Ah! She staggered backward. My body! Tracy froze in confusion. My body is burning. The older woman began shouting uncontrollably. Neighbors rushed inside immediately. What happened? What's going on? Within seconds, the room was filled with relatives. Tracy stood there holding the strange object shakily. Then her mother pointed at her. You found it. Everybody looked confused. Her mother screamed, My body is on fire. Mama, what are you saying? Tracy whispered fearfully. Then suddenly, her mother confessed. I tied her. Everybody froze. I'm the reason Tracy is not married. Tracy's body went cold. What? Tears poured down her mother's face. I did not want her to leave me. She's the only child taking care of me. If she gets married, she would forget me and focus on her family. The room exploded with shock. What kind of a thing is this? Even Tracy's sisters began to cry immediately. But Tracy stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe properly. The woman she loved most, the woman she sacrificed endlessly for, had destroyed her happiness intentionally. No, Tracy whispered weakly. Her mother continued crying. I was afraid. I didn't want to suffer. Tracy looked at her like a stranger. Suddenly, every failed relationship flashed through her mind. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every lonely night. Tears rolled down her face silently. You did this to me? Her mother crawled towards her desperately. Don't touch me! Everybody jumped. For the first time in her life, Tracy shouted at her mother. You ruined my life. Her voice broke violently. I loved you. The entire compound became silent except for her crying. Her mother kept begging, but Tracy could no longer hear anything clearly. Pain drowned everything else. From that moment, her mother fell sick because no one was supposed to see it, not even her daughter. Tracy packed her bags immediately. Her sister begged her to stay, but she refused. She could not breathe inside that house anymore. As the bus left the village that night, Tracy sat by the window crying silently. Her entire world had collapsed. Rain poured heavily outside as the bus drove through the dark road towards Lagos. Most passengers were asleep, but Tracy couldn't close her eyes. Every time she tried, she saw her mother screaming. I tied her. Her chest tightened painfully again. She wiped fresh tears angrily. Beside her sat a man quietly observing her without being intrusive. After several minutes, he gently stretched a bottle of water towards her. You should drink something. Tracy hesitated but collected it quietly. Thank you. You've been crying since we left. She looked away immediately. I'm fine. The man nodded respectfully. My name is Joseph. Tracy gave a weak nod. Normally, she ignored strangers completely, especially men. But Joseph didn't behave like men usually did, just calm conversations. After a while, he spoke again. These roads are terrible. Tracy surprisingly smiled faintly. Last month, my tire almost removed itself from existence. A small laugh escaped her before she could stop it. Joseph smiled. Finally, you smiled. That simple statement softened something inside her. Gradually, they started talking. Just random conversations. Joseph talked about his work, funny travel experience. By the time they were halfway, Tracy realized she hadn't thought about her mother for nearly 20 minutes. That shocked her. When dawn approached, the bus finally entered Lagos. Passengers slowly prepared to get down. Can I have your number? Tracy almost refused, but something stopped her. Maybe kindness. She didn't want to show him off like that. She gave him her number. Thank you, Joseph said sincerely. After they separated, Tracy honestly expected nothing. Men always disappeared eventually, but Joseph called that evening, then the next day, then every day after that. At first, Tracy remained emotionally distant. She answered briefly, avoiding personal discussions, but Joseph remained patient. He never pressured her, never acted desperate, and strangely, that made Tracy comfortable. 2 weeks later, they were talking for hours. Joseph made her laugh again, something she hadn't done genuinely in a long time. One evening after work, Tracy sat in her apartment smiling at her phone during their conversation. Suddenly, she realized something shocking. She was happy, actually happy. That scared her because happiness always disappeared from her life eventually. Meanwhile, back at home, her mother's health worsened. Has Tracy called? She asked her daughter. No, Mama, Chizoba answered quietly. Tears filled the woman's eyes again. I destroyed my own child. Back in Lagos, Tracy tried ignoring thoughts of home completely. But some nights, she cried silently, remembering her mother's betrayal. Joseph noticed her emotional struggles. You don't have to tell me everything yet, he said gently one evening. But whatever hurts you deeply, you will heal. That word stayed in Tracy's mind. Could she truly heal from something like this? Days passed, then weeks. Joseph became the safest part of her life. One Saturday evening, he invited her for dinner. Tracy almost declined, then finally agreed. When she arrived at the restaurant, Joseph stood immediately, and for several seconds, he simply stared at her. You're beautiful, he said softly. Tracy looked down, awkwardly. No compliment had touched her heart in years. During dinner, they laughed freely. For the first time in forever, Tracy forgot she was the woman everyone pitied. She simply felt seen. At the end of the evening, Joseph became unusually serious. Can I ask you something? What? Why do you look like someone expecting sadness every time you smile? The question caught her off guard completely. Tracy looked away immediately. Joseph didn't pressure her, but suddenly tears filled her eyes unexpectedly and slowly. For the first time, she told someone everything. Joseph listened quietly as Tracy explained everything. Her failed relationship, endless disappointments, her mother's shocking confession. By the time she finished speaking, tears covered her face completely. Joseph remained silent for several moments. Then he finally spoke carefully. You loved your mother deeply. Tracy laughed painfully. She destroyed my life. She was wrong, very wrong. But I also think she was afraid. Tracy shook her head. You don't understand. No, Joseph admitted. I probably don't fully understand your pain, but I know bitterness can destroy good people. Tracy stared at him quietly. Most people would have judged her family, but Joseph spoke with compassion instead. That touched her deeply. As weeks passed, their relationship became stronger naturally. Joseph checked on her constantly, sent her meals unexpectedly at work, prayed with her, encouraged her emotionally, and most importantly, he stayed. That alone meant everything to Tracy. One evening, at work, one of the nurses whispered excitedly, Pharmacist Tracy has somebody now. Another smiled. She's glowing these days, oh. For once, Tracy didn't feel embarrassed hearing such comments because this time it felt different. One raining evening, Joseph drove Tracy home after dinner. As they sat quietly inside the car, Joseph turned towards her seriously. Tracy, I love you. No man had spoken those words to her sincerely in years. Joseph held her hands gently. You are kind, strong, selfless, and you deserve happiness. I'm glad about what happened to you, cause maybe I wouldn't have met you. So you see, God kept you for me for a reason. Tears gathered in her eyes. I know life disappointed you before, but I want to build something peaceful with you. Tracy cried quietly, not from pain this time, but from relief. Weeks later, Joseph invited her to another dinner. Everything seemed normal until dessert arrived. Then Tracy noticed something strange. People nearby were watching them smiling. She looked at Joseph, and suddenly he knelt down. Joseph brought out a ring slowly. Tracy, the restaurant became completely silent. For a long time, life made you believe you were forgotten. Tears immediately filled her eyes. But I want to spend the rest of my life reminding you that you are deeply loved. Tracy covered her mouth. Will you marry me? She broke down crying. All the years of pain, loneliness, shame, and heartbreaks suddenly crashed apart in one emotional moment. Yes, she whispered. The restaurant erupted into applause. Joseph stood and hugged her tightly, while Tracy cried against his chest. Finally, after years of hopelessness, love had found her. When Joseph proposed, Tracy's life suddenly changed. The same relative who once pitied her were now congratulating her. Her sisters were overjoyed, but Tracy still carried pain in her heart because of what her mother had done. Days later, Chizoba called Tracy and told her her mother is not getting any better. At first, Tracy ignored the call. She was still deeply hurt and couldn't understand how her own mother could tie her destiny just to keep her for herself. How selfish. So one evening, Joseph gently advised her, "Your mother was wrong, but it has brought us together, so you need to forgive her. Not just for her, but for you and your peace." Those words stayed in Tracy's mind. Finally, she decided to travel back to Delta State to see her mother. When Tracy entered the compound, her mother burst into tears immediately. Weak and sick, she knelt before her daughter, begging for forgiveness. "I was selfish and afraid of losing you. Please forgive me." Seeing her mother broke and full of regret softened Tracy's heart. Though the pain was still there, she couldn't continue holding bitterness. She lifted her mother up and hugged her tightly. "I forgive you, Mama." Everyone in the house cried with relief as peace returned to the family once again. Despite that she forgave her mother, she remained sick and they prayed she recovers. Soon, wedding preparations began for Tracy and Joseph. Her mother was happy and praying constantly for her daughter's marriage to succeed. On her wedding day, Tracy looked radiant and peaceful as she walked down the aisle beside the man who truly loved her. After years of heartbreak, disappointment, and loneliness, Tracy finally found happiness and realized that delay was never the end. Even when she was going through her pain, God had better plans for her. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to your loved ones. Till our next story, bye.